Hello folks, Typhoon Carter here, and I bring to you a Jimvitational 2 Round 4 matchup. We are live. This is between McMeghan and Empo. We had a meta versus Skarm lead, but Empo is going to be able to get one layer of spikes out as the Magneton doesn't quite get the trap off. And McMeghan with free pokes already shown, and that Magneton doing very little tells me that this might not be Magneton. That said, Empo has had to fight off elimination in rounds 2 and 3, as he had to beat Kaloom and Pak respectively, whereas McMeghan, he lost a narrow set against Riverback in round 2, but he was able to live to fight another day, as I believe he had to defeat M-Dragon last round. And McMeghan with some kind of physical offense, like you got the meta, you got the Snorlax, both staples of physical offense, and then you have Regice as the special wall. Empo bringing a bit more of a balanced team, you know, you got the Skarm Bliss, and then you got the presumably defensive Celebi. And is that HP bug Snorlax? Okay, that doesn't quite kill, but it does a significant amount to Celebi. As Shadow Ball usually doesn't quite do enough. However, Empo is going to switch to Swampert, takes a 44%, but Leech Seed and whatnot is going to heal off most of that damage. Suicune is shown here, takes 29% from this Earthquake. And this is a showdown between two top 5 players, and at a relatively early stage in Jimvitational, as either one of these players could be going home today. Again, this is on a Thursday, and the Suicune has Calm-Mind up, looking to threaten the Swampert, but again, Empo has the Blissey chilling in the back, so that should be a pretty safe switch. But it also depends on what kind of Suicune we're looking at here. This is Surf Suicune, so this could be Mono Suicune. Could also be like Surf Ice Beam, Rest Suicune, stuff like that. Calm Mind's up. Blissey's gonna do 25% to this Suicune. Forces a rest pretty early on. Empo's just going to Seismic Toss again. I think this would be a really good time for Empo to maybe look to get the Celebi in at some point, like maybe when the Suicune is forced to rest again. Empo also is going to have to be careful about Seismic Tossing a little bit too liberally, because of the fact that, like, okay, yeah, so Empo tries to Thunder Wave here, so showing Soft Go, Toss, T-Wave, last could be like Ice Beam, because again, you don't want to be completely helpless against Doug, that's what I assume the moveset is. McMeghan once again forced to rest pretty early, and Empo's kind of just alternating, trying to like only Seismic Toss when he has to. Because again, like against the Suicune, you effectively only have 16 Seismic Tosses to work with due to pressure. Rests again. T-Waves again. Okay, yeah, I would look to get the Celebi in a little bit sooner. But Celebi rests here. Again, if this is Mono Suicune, then you could be chilling, but scouts out the Ice Beam here, and ooh, gets frozen, so Empo does not want to see that. There's a world where this Suicune could actually just brute force its way past the Blissey if Empo keeps staying in, but Empo might simply just not have a better switch into this Suicune. That might be the other thing. And this is like the first real pause we've seen like taken from like Empo all game. Like both these guys have been clicking at a pretty fast pace, all things considered. Empo down to 240 seconds on the clock. Other things to mention for this matchup, I believe McMeghan is the heavy favorite going into this game, and Magneton is revealed on Empo's side. Interesting. Empo really just swapped out there just so that he could reset the, what would you call it? It was mostly just so he was able to reset, like let Natural Cure do its thing. And McMeghan's up to +4 on this Suicune. Rest here, I would probably look to... Okay, I mean, sure. You have one free turn to force this Suicune out. To be honest, that probably took Empo a little longer to pull that off. I probably would have done it sooner, but that's just me. So again, like McMeghan's full, or yeah, 5 pokes shown on both sides, and both players have Magnetons. This could tell me, like, Explodes here, so the Skarmory's gotta be taken out. McMeghan will only have to deal with 1 layer for the entire game. Again, like, the Regice here, not gonna be able to do too much just yet, but like, especially against the Blissey, but he can always boom on that, should he find it necessary. The Celebi is kind of shut down by Regice, all things considered. Yeah, Regice pretty safe mid-ground here. Unless the Swampert chose Rock Slide or something, but I highly doubt it. Anyways, yeah, so that Ice Beam does a mere pittance, and Explodes on the Blissey only does 51%. That's a little bit disappointing, all things considered. Although I wonder if he really needed to boom that early because of the fact that, one, I felt like the Regice still had some value against Empo's Celebi. But, like, again, you still have a bit of an issue breaking through Blissey. Although, like, you have the Suicune that could, like, you know, put some pressure on it. But obviously, you still have the Celebi, which can, like, just click Leech Seed, and then you're kind of just sitting there awkwardly going to cry. You know, things like that. And Snorlax earlier already showed HP Bug, and to be honest, I was a little surprised that HP Bug didn't actually kill the Celebi. Alas, it is what it is. The last for McMeghan, there needs to be like a Spike Immune of some kind, so something like a DD Ments would actually make sense here. Besides DD Ments, the other thing I think that could make a lot of sense. Yeah, no, it's gotta be like some kind of floater, like you gotta have... Okay, so we have Curse on Curse action, we have Curse Swampert, and we have Curse Snorlax. So this Curse Swampert actually looks kind of threatening into McMeghan's team, all things considered. Although the Swampert's taking considerable amounts of damage from... Okay, crits there. So that's a little bit unfortunate, but I think that was a crucial crit because that probably determined like how much leeway Empo has with his Swampert, like just being able to kind of read a setup or stuff like that. Anyways, McMeghan returns the favor and gets a crit back in his favor. And Leech Seed misses here, so that's rather unfortunate. But the Celebi does have Recover, so you just gotta land one of this and not get crit or freeze. Avoids that. Empo can kind of just safely... Flygon is shown to be the last here, so I was correct in that there needed to be some kind of... oh, that is not ideal, but I don't know if I agree with staying in there, like, regardless, simply because of the fact that A, it had subs, and that HP Bug doing really disappointing damage. Either that's HP... No, that did way too little for HP Bug. That's probably like N-Part Ghost. Because, like, looking at McMeghan's full 6, all things considered, like, outside of Regice, which you already boomed, like, Gengar would be, like, kind of a huge annoyance for this team, so maybe it's, like, HP Ghost, that's what I think. Because, again, like, that if that was HP Bug, that did way too little. And, yeah, like, McMeghan's team, a little bit awkward, that was, like, yeah, it needed to be a Spike Immune, but, like, I guess Flygon makes sense on this team because you want to have a secondary Aerodactyl rock resist, or like just a secondary rock resist in general, so I guess it makes sense, all things considered, and McMeghan gets a free sub here, and honestly, if you're McMeghan, I mean, you probably either just click EQ or you probably fish for Rock Slide flinches, like maybe you try to take the game out of Empo's hand, because Empo's kind of on the back foot right now, and you know, you still need, like, just all things considered, but Yeah, so 18% here. So he's just, I think he's just doing like a damage check. Check or bulk check. So that's, I think that's a Bull Blissey, assuming this is, yeah, it's probably a Bull Blissey because the Rock Slide did a little less than I expected. Which I guess makes sense on this kind of team. But if that's the case, then McMeghan is in EQ, or sorry, Empo is in range of potentially dying to an EQ if this is Bull Bliss. And to be honest, like EQ is pretty free here, all things considered. Like even if he brings in the Selby, like Empo can't bring the Selby in at all. If you're McMeghan, you could probably just play for the roll or crit. Yeah, I guess that works too. And Empo just staying in here. Admittedly, a very strange decision, all things considered. And the Aerodactyl is shown to be Empo's last, so we got a Aero B plus a Scar Mag. That's an interesting combination. And Magneton is swapped out, understandably. And that double edge does 45% to the Magneton, so McMeghan suddenly looks like he's in a really, really bad spot. Is this a fast mag? I wonder if it is, but HP Fire shown. So scout it out pretty easily. You double edge here again? I don't know, Empo probably saw the calc and might have not been comfortable with the roll. I assume it's probably what happened, but you can't really lock it. Yeah, I think you have to play for the roll here. Because, like, I don't see another way for Empo to try to win this as for me. Because, like, if you EQ here, like, you're giving free entry to Flygon, a poke which none of your remaining pokes actually are particularly comfortable dealing with. Yeah, and looking back on it, if the Blissey did not show Ice Beam, it was probably like a wrong therapy or something. That's probably my first guess. McMeghan down to 180 seconds. So there's, yeah, this is like another huge turn here for both players. Again, I'm not 100% sure what the, oh yeah. So Empo was not comfortable taking that risk, but he kind of didn't have much of a choice, all things considered. And as for this offensive Flygon, I think what you can do here. So there's a path where, so Rock Slide does what, 64, 76? Yeah, so I would probably just sack the Magneton and then, wait, what? Oh, it's HP Fire and Mag. So, okay, yeah, so it is in fact EQ Flygon. Yeah, so Aerodactyl can take one Rock Slide flinch here, and then what you do here is you kind of have to go for the Arrow win, like late in the game. Yeah, so you sack the Mag. Yeah, so McMeghan has to sack the Mag here. Now you have a bit of an awkward situation here. If you're McMeghan, what you can, yeah, yeah, so he just commits to it. Selby's really low here. Is kind of forced to recover. McMeghan knows this and is going to get a free CM boost. Leech Seed's up here. Does over half, but the Leech Seed is going to allow Selby to recover kind of freely. McMeghan right now, he's got to get a crit, he's got to get a freeze. Like either one of those will be enough to win the game for him, as the Suicune is on a timer. And then for Empo, you gotta find that range to kind of let that HP Grass rip. Yeah, I think at some point you have to let the HP Grass rip, and then what you do from there is, because again, the Flygon showed HP, I believe it was, ooh, okay, yeah, so getting some higher rolls, but it's gonna be able to barely survive a Flygon HP Ghost. And so Hin Power does just enough. It's gonna come down to like Rock Slide flinches, it's gonna come down to like all these things. Empo forced to recover here. if you're McMeghan, you could maybe try to look for an opportunity to... Yeah, so McMeghan's playing for crits right now. Again, like, I mean, yeah, because Empo's got forced to recover here, but if you keep attacking, like, you're due for a crit eventually. And yeah, like, Empo's just barely hanging on to dear life right now. This is a wild game one, to say the least. It's been nothing short of exciting. And apparently, Empo's saying GG. Am I behind? Oh, okay, so... Yeah, I didn't get the roll he wanted. McMeghan wins game 1. So that was a tightly contested game 1. I think Empo may have needed to, like, recover a few more times, like, until he was at 100%. I think that was one way he could have won, but I think the thing with that is that McMeghan at any point could have just subbed up with the Flygon and then kept forcing pressure that way. That was another way I think Empo could have, or sorry, McMeghan would have won. But again, like, I think I like McMeghan's odds a little bit more, just because, like, if you're just gonna keep clicking, if you're gonna keep attacking, like, you're kind of due for a crit eventually, like, just like the way odds are, and like it. And Empo just didn't really have many chances to kind of put some pressure on. And yeah, so it is what it is. McMeghan's up 1-0. Empo is down. Going in, so we have a bit of a pause. They haven't started game 2 yet, but the thing is, like, your tournament life's on the line. Empo's probably just taking a few minutes to think about how he wants to approach game 2, or even like what team he wants to bring against McMeghan. And it's not very often we see like a double mag bring from like both players, or like 2 Magnetons in one game, but we saw it today, and McMeghan's team was interesting. Thing, like, you got like the Regice, you got the Mag, you got like the Metagross and Snorlax, all that. And then obviously you got the Suicune, which was kind of a threat to Empo early on. And yeah, Empo had to like burn through a bunch of Leech Seeds. Or sorry, not Leech Seeds, recovers. Yeah, no, Empo still had plenty of recover PP left on the Celebi, so it felt kind of strange for him to not keep going for it at that point, but hey, it is what it is. Game 2 has started, and I'm going to switch the viewpoints here for continuity. We have Lead Jirachi versus Lead Zapdos. The Zapdos could be anything on McMeghan's end, whereas Lead Jirachi, usually these are like mixed attacking Jirachis. You might be using something like Body Slam with like HP Grass, like some kind of mixed attacking Jirachi generally. That's kind of what these lead sets tend to do. Maybe it might be running Lumberry on lead, things like that. But Lead Jirachi, not the most popular thing ever, but it's certainly a lead that exists in this metagame. And again, for McMeghan, like, the Zapdos could be anything. Could be offensive Zapdos, could be like Mono Zap. Switches out here. Switches out to the Skarmory. Empo Body Slams here. Doesn't get a lot of damage. And it is in fact mixed Jirachi, and that Skarm just goes down to a crit thunder just like that. So no spikes are going to be up on Empo's side of the field. So spikes denied, that's certainly one way to do it. Like Skarm Zap, again, this could be anything. And Tyranitar is chosen as the follow-up here. Some of these Jirachis, when they're mixed, is that actually fighting? That might be. And that Flamethrower does a hefty 56% to Jirachi, and no item is shown, so it could very well be something like Lum. And yeah, no, McMeghan's off to a bit of a rough start now. He could try to go back to the Zapdos to try and scout out, like, you know, what the Jirachi set is. But yeah, that looked like maybe it's like HP fighting damage or HP grass. Actually, no, that feels like it did way too low if it's HP grass. And Empo knows that McMeghan has to switch out here and just body slams as a mid-ground play. So Psychic is revealed, and that Zapdos is permanently crippled, as the Jirachi gets a lot of really nice value out of those first couple turns. So Empo is off to a good start here. Tyranitar is brought out, straight into Psychic, but has to switch out here. Scouts out the Grass move from Celebi, and it turns out to be Giga Drain. This Jirachi could be anything. This could be... Okay, it is Wish Jirachi. The question now is it Toxic Fire Punch, or if it is something like Body Slam Fire Punch. But Empo here is able to Leech Seed here, forces some chip on this T-Tar, and he is just getting all the turns right so far. Gets the HP Fire off, does a mere 29%, forces McMeghan to have to play on the back foot. Another Wish is thrown up here, and Skarm is brought out. So Empo is going to ideally be able to get one layer of Spikes up. So Spikes is thrown out. That is in fact a defensive Rachi. And Celebi switching straight into this Fire Punch. Kind of takes it like a champ. Only does 33%. Pretty depressing damage, all things considered. But Empo is... So Celebi is going to be able to recover the damage off. Leech Seeds again. So I think Empo was trying to call out a switch. Probably thinking that McMeghan doesn't want his Jirachi to be sitting around in Parrot for too long. But stays in again here, risking the Celebi, and is going to get the Leech Seed off. T-Tar is brought out. That crunch on a crit does 31%, so that is a Pursuit Tar. This Tyranitar shows Dragon Dance here, and Swampert is just the answer that McMeghan's looking for. Double Edge here does a nice 38%, and doesn't quite die to recoil damage, otherwise could have denied a turn, but alas, that is not going to happen. McMeghan here protecting again, trying to get some lefties healing back, and also to try to get rid of Giga Drain's limited PP. If you've played a later gen and you're tuning in to watch this game, what is not necessarily known is that Giga Drain has extremely low amounts of PP in Gen 3 and prior, or rather Gen 3 specifically. That Leech Seed misses, and Empo does not want to see that. So the Celebi's at risk of dying. And McMeghan's gonna get this Protect off. Celebi's gonna die to this burn damage. That was a little unfortunate, but yeah, Empo's gotta have another way to break past this defensive Jirachi. Yeah, I'd say that Toxic Fire Punch Wish Protect Jirachi is probably like the #1 team check, per se. Swampert's brought out. I sure hope, for Empo's sake, that this is like, you know, refreshed perp or something. If the last Pokemon here is like, you know, what you would call it? Yeah, if the last poke here is like Aerodactyl, then I think this perp. Okay, but it's Cursed Perp, so likely does not have refresh. I'd be surprised, all things considered. Maybe it could be one of those like Curse Rest Perps for all I know, but alas, I am not the one playing, so I do not know what Empo's exact team is. Yeah, no, after what seemed to have been a pretty disastrous start from McMeghan, McMeghan has slowly pulled the game back in his favor. And Gengar is shown to be the last. That makes sense because you have to have some kind of, you know, a second Spike Immune, because normally just having one Spike Immune will not get the job done. Empo here probably doesn't really want to stay in. He is okay with staying in here. That's interesting. I'm a little perplexed by this, all things considered, but Maybe he has rest on this. I don't know, but if the last move is rest, that'd be something for sure. And Empo just taking a bit of time to kind of sit down, think about this a little. Hydro Pump's here, so Hydro Pump's gonna do a moderate amount of damage. And with Sand factored in, this Gengar is at risk of dying. Oh yeah, maybe Empo can pull this back. But yeah, the Zapdos coming in, sacrificing itself. Basically, what McMeghan is doing is he's trying to reduce Empo's Hydro Pump PP down to 4. Because again, I think he probably also assumes like something has to be up, like maybe it's gotta be rest, gotta be refresh, gotta be something like that. And this Tar could potentially carry HP Grass since it showed Crunch earlier, but we do not know, it might be Roar Tar. Again, that last move on Pursuit Tar is usually pretty ambiguous. Aerodactyl is in fact shown to be the last Pokemon on Empo's team, so it is in fact a Aerobee build. I think, yeah, this is the second Aerobee we've seen from Empo today. He's 2 of 2 on that. But that Crunch did a lot. And not to mention the Gengar's still alive. So Gengar's gonna get a free entry point here. And yeah, so again, the main way that Empo could win this is with last Pokemon like Rest or Refresh Hurt. That's the only way I really see him getting out of this. So, Skarm is brought out here, and obviously this Jirachi is going to be a big pain for Empo, as long as the Gengar is alive, just because, like, you have... Ooh, okay, so he's risking the Aerodactyl, but... Yeah, so he Protect, but now that just means it's a free entry point for Gengar. Curious, to say the least. And this Gengar did not show Grass move yet, but if McMeghan's got to show Grass move on Gengar, now is the time. Empo's just going to Hydro Pump again. I think he only has 3 Hydro Pump PPs left, so he's got to keep that in mind. Again, Empo's playing this really strange. Yeah, no, like on these Aerobee builds, like usually you need to have... The number one issue with Aerodactyl plus Celebi teams is normally just the fact that you are kind of helpless against Toxic Jirachi. And like usually you need to have like some form of counterplay against Status. It's shown to be... Oh, okay. Yeah, no, this has to be Rest, right? I don't see it being anything else. Okay. There's no way this doesn't have Rest, right? Okay. Yeah, Empo, okay, I guess it doesn't have that. Yeah, I really do not like how... Yeah, I don't see a feasible way for... Yeah, okay, so the only way Empo can really win this right now is... Well, obviously lots of flinches is in order. Yeah, no, there's... okay, if there's an Aerodactyl, there's a way, as they'd say. Just need a couple crits, okay, gets some... chains a few more flinches together. Gets the crit. Is it... Yes, is Empo going to get enough here? And... Rock Slides here. McMeghan is going to avoid the hacks. Just keeps wishing up. No can do. Yeah, no. It appears that he does not have what it takes. Protects here, yeah, no, the rock slides are gonna get flinched out, like, with the way this is going. And yeah, no, that's gonna do it. McMeghan has his game wrapped up. And McMeghan wins 2-0. And Empo will be sent home. And he will be eliminated from Jimvitational. Thank you for playing. That being said though, if you guys enjoyed this video, like, comment, subscribe, and consider donating to our prize pool. That being said, I will see you guys next time.